There have been many famous people who have lived in Fort Pierce, but none whose story has intrigued others more than Zora Neale Hurston. And although many of our residents have come from many different places, our story starts here in a little country house.
This child is coming any minute now. Imagine a little girl growing up in a place where black voices weren't whispered, they were spoken loud and proud.
A place where children raced through streets without fear, without ever feeling less than. This was a place built on belonging, a place where identity came before limitation.
It was a town governed by its own people, a place built on pride, structure, and self-determination. And in the middle of all of this stood a little girl. Her name was Zora Neale Hurston. Zora was born on January 7, 1891.
Her life began far from where her story would take shape. But history was already forming around her. Her mother, Lucy Potts Hurston, was a school teacher, a woman who believed deeply in learning. Her father, John Hurston, was a Baptist preacher. Later, he worked as a carpenter, and both of her parents were born into slavery. Their survival stories lived quietly inside her.
Their lives shaped her long before she could read, long before she could write.
When Zora was just 3 years old, her family moved to Florida. They settled in Eatonville. This move would define her identity. It would shape everything that came after. To Zora, Eatonville wasn't just where she lived. It was home. She would later say it was the only place she truly remembered from childhood, the place where she first understood who she was. She watched Black women teach Sunday school, women who spoke with confidence and authority. Like her Purids, she saw leadership lived out daily, not announced, just practiced. Stories full of humor and exaggeration. Stories full of truth.
This was a town that didn't explain itself. It simply existed fully and proudly. Zora listened more than she spoke. She absorbed every voice around her.
From Eatonville streets would rise a woman who carried these voices forward.
But life wasn't always easy for Zora. Even in a town full of strength, loss would find her. When Zora was just 13 years old, her mother died, a loss that reshaped her world forever. In that moment, something hardened and sharpened inside her. She became determined to write her own story. She worked wherever she could, washing dishes, just to survive.
She worked as a manicurist in a barber shop, listening more than she spoke.
Then Zora did something daring. She shaved years off her age to continue her education. From that point on, she claimed she was born in 1901, 10 years younger than she truly was. Zora Neale Hurston wrote tirelessly, novels, folklore, essays, plays. Some critics dismissed her work. Others misunderstood her independence. By the mid-1920s, Zora Neale Hurston arrived in New York City. She stepped directly into the Harlem was alive with art, literature, and music, a cultural awakening now known as the Harlem Renaissance.
Zora made an immediate impression. She was bold, confident, and impossible to ignore.
At a 1925 Literary Awards dinner, she won multiple prizes.
Her voice stood apart from the rest. She wrote Black life with humor, rhythm, and fullness. She did not write only in protest. She wrote in celebration and truth.
At the same time, Zora was becoming something rare. A trained anthropologist at Barnard College, she studied under Franz Boas, one of the most respected anthropologists of the time. Anthropology taught Zora how to listen deeply, how to honor voices without reshaping them.
She traveled through the American South and the Caribbean, collecting folklore, songs, beliefs, and she believed Black culture deserved preservation, not translation, preservation. During this time, Zora formed a close friendship with Langston Hughes. Both were rising stars of the Harlem Renaissance. Together, they attempted to write a play called Mulebone, a collaboration fueled by humor and shared vision. But their partnership was not without strain. They disagreed on credit, control, and creative direction. The collaboration ended in a painful falling out. Their friendship never fully recovered. Zora chose independence over compromise, even when it cost her relationships.
She remained a vital part of the Harlem Renaissance, even as she refused to fit neatly within it.
Zora Neale Hurston wrote tirelessly. Novels, folklore, essays, plays.
But her voice did not always fit the moment. She refused to write Black life only through pain or protest.
Some critics dismissed her work. Others misunderstood her independence.
As years passed, recognition faded. Money grew scarce.
In her later years, Zora returned to Florida, the place where her story had first begun. She spent her final days as a resident of Fort Pierce, living quietly, far from literary spotlight. On January 28, 1960, Zora Neale Hurston passed away. She was buried in an unmarked grave, a quiet ending for a powerful voice. For years, the world forgot her, but stories have a way of waiting.
In 1973, writer Alice Walker searched for her grave and made sure it now reads, Zora Neale Hurston, a genius of the South.
Her work found new life. Her voice returned to classrooms and hearts.
Eatonville remembers her. Florida remembers her. Zora once said, jump at the sun, even if you miss.
She jumped, and she lifted countless voices with her. Zora Neale Hurston never stopped listening, and because of her, the world still hears.
Zora Neale Hurston was an American writer, anthropologist, folklorist, and documentary filmmaker. She was born January 7, 1891, Notasulga, Alabama, and died January 28, 1960, at the age 69 years old. To hear more stories about the Treasure Coast and the people who made it, hit the subscribe button and share with a friend. If you live here on the Treasure Coast and want to get closer to these stories, visit the Bud Adams Cobb Cultural Center inside the oldest building on the Treasure Coast, the P.P. Cobb Building, downtown Fort Pierce. They are open on Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. They have a vast collection of original pictures that will take you back in time. It is a great way to spend a Saturday morning with the kids, and it doesn't cost a thing. And if you want to touch history, visit the St. Lucie County Regional History Center. You can also visit St. Lucie Historical Society website. Thank you for watching Tales from the Fort Treasure Coast.